flew out to Kentucky a couple weeks ago to meet with the owner of the company, a different guy named Brian, and sat down with him and our mission and what we wanted to do were really aligned, and so it seemed like a good fit. And that was just 3 weeks ago. So we've gotten involved and love the product. Honestly, that's why I'm here. And the opportunity that goes along with it is pretty cool too. I met Abigail, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I made like $22,000 last month," and I was like, "Okay."
You never told us that.
Yeah, right.
And now we just told the whole world.
I don't know.
Thanks,
I
Ryan.
keep telling everybody. So yeah, Abigail said she's making some pretty good money on figure, and I was like,
It's okay. We only got 2 viewers so
cool.
far.
I was like, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good month. So I could get used to the idea of that, and so that's the long story short.
Awesome. Hey, why are you here, Benton?
What's up? No, yeah, I mean, similar story. Like, obviously, Ryan and I are brothers, and
Really?
no, my thing is like income generation has been a tricky thing because I hate working. So like, how do I leverage social value and like referral abilities in today's world when we have so much connection with Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff? It's like, how can I provide value to people and be compensated for it? So I sunk my teeth in nutrition like 3 years ago, and just kind of have fallen in love with the world. And when I saw ketones, it was like, wow, this is legitimately a breakthrough. Like, the people behind it are legitimate, and the product is legitimate. So like, I could see this going big, and it's small now. So taking something small to big, like, there's opportunity there. So it just seemed logical, really. I felt like it'd be something I'd be interested in, something that could work for me, and something that would grow on a big scale, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome. Good deal. And I'll just have you girl.
So,
Cool.
Periscope or not?
Yeah. No, we'll share it. So, and Abigail Klutz here, Kansas City, Kansas. Dr. Heather, also Kansas City, Kansas. And I love both their stories. They're both searching for something. And, we have something really profound. We have something that no one else has. And we have something that we are excited to get up every day and talk about. This was my life insurance examiner back here. She came over yesterday, and I think it's the same story. A lot of people are tired. They're overrun. They're hitting different stages in their lives where, you can be suffering from anxiety or depression or chronic fatigue or hormone issues, and everybody's in search for something better. And, for me to step away from an online business that I was growing, I used to be doing online nutrition programs for hundreds and hundreds of people, and I would do their diet plans, I would do their exercise programs, I would do daily accountability for check-ins, and, when I saw this technology, I just knew how powerful it was. And, the elephant in the room is that we did put it in a distribution model. It's the _1 business model to try and get something new, something not really understood out to the public by putting it in the hands of the people with an educational marketing paradigm. And I've done this once before, and when I found out, I said, I'm done with selling people. I'm done with the conversation of like, my protein powder is better than yours. My energy drink is better than yours. My vitamins are better than yours. Like, I was just burned out and tired of the conversation because everybody likes what they like. And from a business point of view, for me to walk away with the online program that I had built, like, it was because I was really excited about the conversation and expanding that conversation. And I believed that this product and this technology could probably make more of an impact, and while working it in this business model, I could probably reach more people to help than I ever could in my online programs I was doing. And so it's kind of a maximum impact was something I always like to be on the cutting edge. Even as a trainer, like, I never settled for just learning what I had learned in a exam one time and then regurgitating what you learn over and over again. Like, I always wanted to be learning about new techniques, new science, new ways of dieting, things like that. So exogenous ketones, first to market, put your body in a state of ketosis within an hour, like, blew my mind. I want to be on the front of that. And I still come across trainers and gym owners and people every day who are so close-minded and can't even open their mind to it. And that's okay. I just never wanted to be that person. We have some of the #1 coaches, trainers, doctors in the world now getting on this. We're not paying them to come aboard this ship. Like, they're excited that we have this technology finally. And so I find the conversation with the higher caliber of almost intelligent people we find, the more it's a yes. And so if you really just open up, look at the research, Dr. Heather has been so monumental in this company in Kansas City. She's our specialist. People write in to ask her questions because she was already doing the ketogenic diet as a practice. And so when we do presentations together, she likes to talk about the history and the ketogenic diet. And as a company, like, we're not advocating the ketogenic diet, but if you understand it, it helps you understand more about how significant exogenous ketones are versus endogenous ketones. Like, she'll tell you what the keto diet is, how hard it is to achieve it, how hard it is to get your body in a state of ketosis endogenously, and then that will leave you with experiencing how profound it is that we have biohacked into this compound, and for the first time ever, we can put it in exogenously. When for years and years, all our research on ketones has had to come from people who have done a restrictive diet to develop them endogenously. So it's an awesome conversation, and you're learning from one of the top experts in the community, and she's so good in presenting. So I'll give you the floor and sit down.
Okay, I need one IT person because we got offline. So if someone can help me get this PowerPoint. Anybody here know anything about?
I'll give it a whirl.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, we just had it up and the video stopped, so we're not actually.
What do you need?
I just need this PowerPoint up. So thank you for asking me to be here today. My name is Dr. Heather Carden. I am the co-owner of Carden Wellness Center. I have practiced for almost 20 years. I'm also very blessed and proud to say that I am one of the Ask the Specialist or the nutrition specialist for Prove It. So the #1 nutritional company out there. Oh, good. So I'm gonna do my kiddos. So I just like to get you guys a little bit involved. Who here has ever taken a supplement? Okay, do you know what the average household income is for supplementation? It's like $125 a month that people spend on supplementation. So people are wanting better. They're wanting to know. But I'm going to tell you that this is probably one of the most important supplements that you can take because your brain is the most important organ. Thank you very much. So as I said, I practice here locally in Kansas City. I have been low carb, high fat in our clinic with all of our patients. 100% of them we teach low carb, high fat for 20 years. So this is not a new conversation. When Abigail asked me about ketones, I'm like, you don't need to tell me, I got it. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, I got it. You don't have to tell me the benefits because I knew what the power was. I feel like I'm so excited about it because if I'd been born back in the 13th or 14th century and we developed vitamin C for scurvy, now everybody knows about vitamin C. We know it's got tons and hundreds of benefits. That's what this is. So I know some of you were here last week. I'm going to make a Reader's Digest version of the history because I want to really talk about biohacking because that's really what we need to do with America. So I always start with what we did yesterday may not have been the right thing, and we're going to talk about what mistakes we made in nutrition so we know how to move forward. And I truly believe that we have to switch to ketones for fuel in order to move forward. What's happened is, and we'll find this out in about the next 5 minutes, that on glucose, we are not thriving. We must switch our fuel source to ketones. Ketones are a byproduct of fat metabolism, and then we will flourish. Our kids will be healthier, live longer. So the purpose of today's lecture for me is to introduce Keto OS and the first exogenous therapeutic ketones. I want you to be clapping. And I want to tell you kind of where we went wrong. Time magazine had this in 1980s, telling us that inflammation is the killer of Americans. The diet on the right with most red is carbohydrates. Can everybody see that? Is it fuzzy? Okay. So here, this is our typical Western diet, standard American diet. Lots and lots and lots of carbs. Well, we've kind of gotten smarter the last couple of years, and people have gone paleo. Paleo is not low carb because they don't count macros, but it's a much cleaner diet. It reduces grains, reduces food colorings, But the ketogenic diet has been around since about the 1920s. So almost 100 years we've been studying ketones. It is not a new molecule. Our body has been doing it every day that we've been born. We are born in ketosis, so it's a conversation our body knows well. But we have to reintroduce it because we've been living the standard American diet. So when we look at charts and facts, we know definitely we knew way back when, 1920s, Dr. Spock in 1940s, that we all said that starchy carbs are going to determine our body's weight. So why did they do that? Why did they start focusing on carbohydrates? Have you met anybody who is carbohydrate deficient? And this is something I know she's laughing. I mean, seriously, go ask your friends, are you carbohydrate deficient? Are you, because you're not. Because if even a man, 40-year-old man, 10% body fat, still has about 60,000 calories they can burn. I've never met anybody carbohydrate deficient because there's no essential carbohydrate. Everybody got that? There's not one. We have essential amino acids, essential proteins, essential fats, no essential carbohydrates. This pyramid that we know is actually made on the base of a rabbit model. Rabbits are herbivores. So you have a rabbit standard American diet, they get atherosclerosis because they can't digest fats and proteins. So it was a very, very skewed molecule. There were a whole bunch of studies done, and again, I want to do a Reader's Digest version because Abigail and I really want to get into the biohacking. None of these studies had a placebo. None of them had data that they actually skewed, or there wasn't a placebo involved. So people started getting on the trend of, okay, we need to introduce more carbohydrates. So they all kind of followed suit and really didn't make a whole bunch of sense. Hence, they came up with this pyramid. Who had this pyramid in school? Yeah, even me, the 1980s girl, I had this in school. But what was the goal of that pyramid? Was it really for zero disease? Like when you go back to the Framingham study, the 7-country studies, the Women's Health Initiative, what was their goal? Because what they were trying to do didn't work. We know that the American Diabetic Association said, hey, let's put in 45 to 65 in non-essential macronutrients. Non-essential macronutrients are carbohydrates. Okay, follow along here. So what happened is we knew that they would say, okay, eat some carbohydrates, but not too many because they kind of mess around with your triglycerides. Eat some fats, but maybe not too much, not too little. So they all were swaying a whole bunch of different political thoughts of what we should do. Nobody was looking for zero disease. Nobody was aiming at reversing disease. They were just changing the molecule. So what has happened now 4 decades later is that everything has gone up. Everything for women, from calories to carbohydrates to saturated fats, their body fat, visceral fat, bone age has gone down, everything has gone up. Men, the same thing. Calories have gone up, heart disease has gone up, their body fat composition has gone up, and now what's happened is our children are obese. We have 1 out of 15 children are going to be obese by the year 2020. By the year 2050, 1 out of every 3 Americans. And what we do know for sure, based on data, is that for the first time ever in this century, our children will not have a greater life expectancy. So their life expectancy will be shorter than our parents. That's in 2 centuries. So what we did for 4 decades totally wrecked the last 200 years. Who was paying for the research? So again, I'm not going to give you the answers. Think about that. So if we had to add these non-essential nutrients in, who said that? Who made these studies up? What was everybody doing? But what's happened is when I have taught low carb, high fat, people are like, I just can't put butter on my broccoli. I just can't put like olive oil on my steak if it's dry. People see the data, but they can't make that paradigm shift because we've been brainwashed since we were born. So this was on the cover of one of the CrossFit magazines a few months ago, but this is true. Even when people are understanding to eat high fats, they still have this big paradigm shift they're trying to switch over. So my goal here is to educate you on why we need fats for fuel, how fats can be a winning component for all of our bodies. We only have 3 macronutrients. Nothing more, nothing less. We have carbohydrates, good and bad carbohydrates. Cakes and cookies and pies are the bad ones. Broccoli and vegetables, and those things are the good ones. They all break down to glucose, which we use for fuel. We have proteins that break down to amino acids. So proteins and carbohydrates use insulin to break down. So now we're having an insulin-resistant society and metabolic stress because we've overused carbohydrates. We now have children being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that used to be diagnosed in people who were 70 and 80 years old. So we're seeing this in our teens and our younger generation. Fats do not require any insulin at all. We've taught people that your insulin level should rise and go up and go down. It shouldn't do that. It should just be nice and steady throughout the day. It shouldn't yo-yo 40 to 50 points. We've been educated wrong on that avenue also. And insulin is not a bad thing. We actually developed it in 1940 because there were failure to thrive children's. Insulin's major job is to deposit fat. And Americans have figured out to do that well. We eat carbohydrates, we use insulin, we have glucose, we eat too many, and our body deposits its fat. Our body really doesn't deposit fats when they break down to ketones. Carbohydrates break down to glucose, protein to amino acids, and I'm sure we've all taken a protein powder, right? That makes sense. Fats break down to ketones, so now we're introducing a ketone supplement. It's that simple and it's that easy. People try to make it really hard. Carbohydrates supply us with vitamins and minerals. People take a vitamin mineral supplement. It's just the same thing, but we've now moved to a much smarter avenue for fuel. We have learned, I'm going to just skip through a few things here. We have learned that what glucose does is it has caused a lot of disease processes. It has caused heart disease, cardiovascular disease, arthritis. Inflammation is what's killing a lot of Americans, from heart disease to cancer to strokes. And it's all over the media, it's all over social media, it's all over the TV station. So this is not rocket science, it's what we've learned the last few years. But what we need to look at is what does fuel do for us? Well, first of all, fuel gives us a far better energy. It gives us 38% more energy. So if you're going to go to the gas station and buy gas and you had something that was a much higher octane for the same price, wouldn't you go for that? And that's what we can do when we use fats for fuel versus that. So even if it was an apple or a pastry, that Katie and I were at the KCA this week and people were taking pastries, like, no, please have a shot of ketones. They still can't get that conversation, but ketones or fats are olives, avocado, avocados, nuts, seeds, butter, coconut oil, all those healthy plant fats. So those break down into ketones. We have three major ketones: beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is the most efficient one, acetoacetate, and acetone. Keto OS is beta-hydroxybutyrate, so we can drink it and we can get fuel within our body. We don't have to have anything break down, doesn't have to go through our liver, we don't have to put any stress on our spleen. We get energy within like 5 to 10 minutes, like you said, you feel it instantly. Ketones actually increase our awareness. Let's keep this slide here. They increase our awareness and they increase focus. Ketones were originally studied in epileptics because people would have seizures. So if you get the brain focusing or balance, you're not going to have seizures. So people have an increase in mental focus. Many people say they have their first serving of ketones, they feel like this windshield wiper went up, or they feel like there's all tingling in their head. They feel like there was awareness that they never had. And it's really true because ketones cross the blood-brain barrier, no insulin at all, and feed your brain. So what you're feeling is absolutely right. It assists in abdominal fat loss because when our body's in a state of ketosis, which is the bottom ring here, and Abigail touched on that. In order to get ketosis before keto OS, we need to be on a ketogenic diet. It is 3 to 5% carbs. That's one banana for the whole day, or less. Or about 3 heads of lettuce and some cucumbers. It's not very much, and it would take your body anywhere from 10 days to almost 30 days to get into ketosis to get all of these benefits that we want. We know the instant that we eat sugar on our standard American diet, we get inflammation, we get fatigue, we get soreness, we get moodiness. Has anybody here ever been to a bar? Yeah, come on, people. Yeah. Okay, so people, like alcohol is just sugar, right? It's just carbohydrates. There's a happy drunk, a sad drunk, a mad drunk. It's the same thing. Everyone's having so many carbohydrates in their body. Or Uncle Phil at Christmas or dinner has all the rolls and the potatoes and the pie and he passes out in the chair. Well, think if you used a far efficient fuel like keto OS or ketones, put it in your body and your brain actually wakes up. People report sleeping better, it decreases inflammation. Again, it's been around for 100 years, the study of ketones. We've never had a supplement. Just like we could eat a gallon of oranges and get vitamin C, but now we can take a vitamin C supplement. It's the exact same thing, exogenous ketones. But the science behind it is amazing that they actually got this to work. So for me, there is no choice. Ketones are a far superior fuel source. I don't want to live on a diet that's 3 or 5% carbohydrates. For one thing, society doesn't let us be low carb for months. Because if you're on that diet and say you have an extra 4 ounces of steak, or you have an extra handful of nuts, it will actually could throw you out of ketosis. Or you're on a pharmaceutic, or if you have pain, if you don't sleep enough, all those factors will throw you out of ketosis, and then you don't get these benefits. Well, now we know we can have a cleaner diet here. I'm not going to ever suggest 55% carbohydrates, and drink keto OS and get all the benefits from pure therapeutic ketones. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. So we are here today to introduce the first therapeutic exogenous ketone supplement. And being a chemistry wizard, I love to have a molecule up there. So biohacking, has anybody heard the word epigenetics or biohacking? Okay, awesome. So, and some of you were here last week. So biohacking is really just breaking the body's code or finding out where it's code. So it's kind of like the gun is loaded, but what makes it fire? We all have strep in our mouth, but why do we get a strep infection or get strep throat? It's because it becomes out of balance. We all have different types of bacteria in our body, like Staph and E. coli. Those are normal bugs found, but what makes you get that infection? It's out of balance. So I grew up in the 80s. My mom had cancer, my grandma had cancer, my aunt died of heart disease, my mom's had heart issues, my grandpa died of heart disease. So I thought in the 1980s, I'm going to die of heart disease or I'm going to die of cancer. It makes sense because that's what we thought. We thought it was genetic. It is 97% lifestyle. 97%. So we know that our lifestyle actually can predict our outcomes. So when we talk about breaking the code, if I exercise every day, I don't smoke, and which are all those big predictors for heart disease, and keep my BMI down, I know that I'm not going to trigger that trigger that could make me have heart disease like the rest of the women in my family. So for me, this is a really exciting topic for people to understand. We used to think everybody was on the couch eating fried chicken potatoes are all going to get heart disease. Well, it was nature versus nurture. It was the lifestyle they were living, not the gene code they were born with. So you can have those gene code, but what makes it fire is so exciting. We can use Keto OS, or I've been using it in my clinic for almost 6 months now, and we can help hide those genes, so to speak. We can cover them up so the body doesn't trigger that happening. So I'm going to go over 5 biohacks today, and biohack is just a myth that we didn't know. What we do know is that 85% of Americans, anybody know these people?
Yes.
Yeah, that was last summer on my family reunion. I am just joking. So we know that people have become insulin resistant. That's why we're seeing diabetes and heart disease. And it's really causing an imbalance of energy. People are tired, they're hitting the snooze, they get home, they can't function. And it's causing a huge metabolic disruption. So we were taught the very simple principle, calorie in, calorie out, and then there's a popular TV show that says, oh, if we just exercise 4 to 10 hours a day, you can get the weight you want. We all know that's unreal, correct? And with that show, there's really never been a follow-up, a reunion show. So we know that this model of calorie in, calorie out doesn't work. There's a popular diet program that used to say just count points. Either count the Snickers bar is like 400 calories or the chicken Caesar salad. We all know the chicken Caesar salad has macronutrients and the candy bar doesn't. That's a point system. That is not working. So it's not a calorie in, calorie out. It's the hormone model. What are you eating that's triggering the insulin to be high to deposit fat? Insulin deposits fat. So I had somebody say, well, I had 400 calories. I had like an Egg McMuffin. I'm like, the carbohydrates stimulate insulin to deposit fat. So it would have been better just to have 400 or 500 calories of fat, like a whole bowl of guacamole or something, or a whole dish of nuts. So what we have to do moving forward is not think about if I exercise 4 to 10 hours a day. And Abigail attests to you, she was caught in that model of 2 to 3 hours of cardio, and now it's very simple cardio, strengthening your body and strengthening your heart. But what she's done is she's flipped this insulin resistance model off. So she's eating a low carb, high fat diet and putting ketones into her body. So that is what's happening. These are real testimonies that we have gotten from Prove It. So last week I didn't have these, but what happens when you eat fat to lose fat? Amazing things can happen. This abdominal fat goes down. Abdominal fat here, and this is the biggest predictor of heart disease. Eat fat to lose fat. It's really true. Keep telling yourself that, because that's that paradigm shift that people are really stuck in, like they feel wrong eating butter. But this is a true story. This is the second biohack, is that diabetics need carbohydrates. We think they need them, or the American Diabetic Association says, you know, if your sugar drops, have some more sugar. Which if we had pre-fed with fuel with fat, it would have balanced out. This is a real lab in my office that we see a person. A1C is what we use to diagnose diabetes. It's a 90-day predictor of what's happened with blood sugar. So I started using Keto OS in my office with just a select few group of people in July. And A1C is 6.7, is diabetic. This person is on insulin and has elevated triglycerides also. So started a low carb, high fat diet, which she had been on, so she didn't change her diet drastically. She simply added the exogenous ketones in. So what she saw is a balance or a decrease in her blood sugar. And what also happens, there's a protein called interleukin factor 1, which helps increase lean muscle mass. People go on diets all the time and lose water and muscle and fat. With Keto OS, it's a fat loss because it's muscle protecting. So me being in a wheelchair, I'm going to eat ketones. I've been on a ketogenic diet for a long time because I'm trying to spare my muscles. So I'm not up and running around and can't go do leg presses. So when you see this person, the body composition totally changed, inches totally changed. So it's amazing what happens. She reduced her insulin load. How many men have low testosterone levels, or women have hormone imbalance? Give your body fat, because cholesterol breaks down into progesterone, insulin, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone. Cholesterol breaks down into those things. Cholesterol is not the culprit. It's the food that we're eating turning on the insulin, depositing fat. Does that make sense? I have a drink of water. Slows me down a little bit. So biohack number 3, sugar is a drug. These are real MRI studies, and we know that certain people are more prone to sugar receptors when you give somebody sugar and their brain lights up. And they're comparing these days, I don't have the study in front of me, but cocaine to sugar, because some people definitely crave sugar. What happens is, or why we're such a sugar crave society, again, their calories may not be high, but all their calories are coming from carbohydrates. Blood sugar levels spike. It releases a hormone called dopamine, which is kind of our feel-good hormone. Then our blood sugar drops and crashes because carbohydrates give us about 30 minutes of energy. We crave the sugar, we have some dopamine, we feel good, and we crash. It's the same thing with the guy in the bar. I'm saying guy instead of gal, sorry about that. But it's a vicious cycle. It's the kid saying, can I have one more cookie? Or it's the adult saying, I've got to have the ice cream before I go to bed. Or one more donut, and I have my coffee and go back to work, or one more croissant. It's the same vicious cycle. So we have to stop the perpetuation of it. But we know that sugar is a drug. We've verified it via brain MRI. We know that sugar causes headaches, insomnia, dizziness, inflammation, moodiness, and fatigue. And we also know that sugar is not necessary. So if you're having these symptoms, it would make sense to take them away. The problem is when you're addicted to something, your body wants it, you've got to replace it with something else. And that's where ketones come into play, is that ketones will decrease sugar cravings. So we have a rise in attention deficit disorder. This is my and you can see the data down here. And we are feeding our babies this after breast milk and formula. Because formula, we're actually putting MCT oils in, lipid, DHEA. We're putting really healthy fats in there. And then we do this. Like, they don't have their own money. They don't have jobs. They can't drive themselves through. So what's happening? And then we try to say, okay, do the big paradigm shift. So for me, this is just a thing. It would make sense that if we are increasing the millions of dollars or millions of diagnoses, millions of kids that are taking medication, that this seems like a very easy solution to me. My biohack, this is still the same biohack because we're talking about the brain, is that ketones are neuroprotective. Sugars actually shrink the brain. So Alzheimer's is now diagnosed as type 3 diabetes because after 4 decades of going high carbohydrate or doing 40 to 60% non-essential nutrients or higher carbohydrates on dissection, our brains are shrinking. Right now we have no cure for Alzheimer's. We have nothing for dementia, but we know it's happening based on autopsy. We started this rigmarole back in the 1970s, so people are dying, last 2010, 2015, whatever. We're doing brain autopsies, and we're seeing a definite shrinkage in the caniculi of the brain. And if you've ever been around someone who has Alzheimer's dementia, it's one of the most heartbreaking diseases you can say. With a heart attack, people feel great and they just pass over. But dementia and Alzheimer's early stages can be very frustrating for the family and for everyone around. But if we know now that it's type 3 diabetes, and this was renamed 18 to 24 months ago, we know that we have figured out what's happening. It's sugar causing it. But what Pruvit has done, and we know that people who are insulin resistant, so those people who eat a high carbohydrate diet, not necessarily obese, but high carbohydrate diet, have a 2 times more risk of having Alzheimer's. You've probably seen the commercials or seen the YouTube videos where somebody gives them cod liver oil or coconut oil to help reverse their diabetes or brain disease. This is the same thing, but just in a special packet. So I have to put my Pruvit packet up. So when we have beta hydroxybutyrate in a packet that we can drink, and we know that our brains need fat, that's like miracle to me. But what I can tell you is even more exciting, like someone was saying it's a ground level company. Ketones have been around for 100 years. This is Dr. Brian Wilson. I keep hitting the button down here. So he presented this in January of 2016, so just a couple months ago. This is a recall study. So they had people read a paragraph and 2 hours later ask them what the paragraph contained. And you can see that this is with ketones. I cropped it out, but this is using Keto OS. It's blue, now it's orange, so this is 2.1. And 2 hours, 120 minutes after it, we actually saw an increase in cognition. So whether it's ADHD, or it's just a busy mom who can't remember things, or it's someone suffering from dementia or their brains are starting to shrink, because right now, if you've been on a low-fat diet, there's been changes in your brain. But we also know that if you break your bones, it can heal. If you chop off your liver, it can grow back. If I give Abigail a kidney, it could work. Our bodies want to heal. So Dr. Dr. Amen actually posted a couple of videos last week where he was saying with lifestyle changes and nutritional changes, the hippocampus, which is a part of the brain, actually restoring to its normal function. It was a post-concussion NFL person. So the brain will heal when you give it the right stuff. Maybe not back to normal, but we do know for sure when we've given people Keto OS on paragraph recall that we've increased cognition, which is big for everybody. Everybody wants to remember better. Biohack number 4 is that inflammation, my other picture didn't show in there, causes lots of different diseases, not just inflammation of the brain, but inflammation of the skin. This is a person who has taken Pruvit, and she just took it for a few months. She'd been suffering from psoriasis, and we see that picture 1 is here, and it was gone. Pruvit went public in September of 2001. This was presented in December of 2015. So within 2 to 3 months, this happened. This wasn't like years and years. This is a real person giving her real testimony. So we know what sugar can do, and we know what just putting Keto OS in, not going on a ketogenic diet, not doing a huge big paradigm shift, but just adding more fats into her diet did. This is my mom, and I show it all the time. My mom had a quadruple bypass in October of 2015, so just a few months ago. You can see at post-surgery, this is 2 or 3, probably 3 weeks post-surgery, how swollen her legs were from inflammation. They kept giving her a diuretic, because that's what they give people when your feet swell. What happens is, her feet were totally bad. She's a really short lady. She gained 20 or 30 pounds in rehab from fluid. We took her home. We gave her a half a pack of Keto OS. I started throwing a little bit of coconut oil in her green smoothie, which she was doing before. And within, she says 5 days, I think it's 7 days, all the fluid went down. Why that is because fats stop an enzyme called NLRP3 inflammasome. So ketones, whether you're on a natural ketogenic diet and your body's producing ketones endogenously, or if I'm drinking ketones exogenously, they are a natural diuretic, and they naturally stop an enzyme called NLRP3 inflammasome. They're a natural anti-inflammatory. We know sugar causes inflammation, fats decrease inflammation. Biohack number 5 is that we were told that athletes needed to load carbs for fuel. Is anybody here carb loading? Nobody? Okay, I grew up in the 80s, did a lot of marathon and triathlons in the 90s. It was the same thing. We'd have the big spaghetti dinner the night before, have a beer the night before, but carb load, have the goo packs in between. Now we know that's not the case. We know that fats are far more efficient fuel than carbohydrates. And I'm sure Abigail has really noticed this the last 3 or 4 months, because the first month you're just trying to figure out what's happening in your own body. And then when you share with people and then you start seeing transitions over 4 to 6 months, amazing thing can happen. So fat for fuel, fat for winning, fat for endurance, not carbohydrates. So the biohack was we thought we needed carbohydrates, and we absolutely don't. This is a study done by Dr. Peter Dufty, and this is done Dr. Peter Attea and Dufty from the Vesvar Clinic. This athlete is in a mild ketogenic state. So mild ketones in his body. He's put on a bike. They measure his VO2 max and endurance. Then the second one is giving 1 hour prior to the same ride, same endurance, same force, 15 grams of beta-hydroxybutyrate. So right here, they tell you how much beta-hydroxybutyrate they give them. What happens is when your VO2 max is lower, your body feels like it worked less. You recover much better, and you can go much faster, much longer. Does that make sense? So you see triathletes or Ironmen who are very thin and they can just keep going like the Energizer Bunny. That's because their body's burning ketones, not carbohydrates. And when we talk about, Abigail asked her, I hear this all the time, what if I'm already in a ketogenic state and I add ketones to it? This study validates it. This person, mild ketosis, we added a big dose of beta-hydroxybutyrate, 1 serving before, an hour before, and you see how much more efficient his ride was. That's for anybody. Even some mom just running around town, if you can keep feeding the body ketones, you're going to have far more efficiency from it. Biohack 6, we have all heard that sugar feeds cancer. We were studying, or have been studying this for 3 or 4 decades. But now what we've done the last couple of decades is that we have taken a stage 4 cancer rat on a controlled SD, a standard diet, with the same rat, and put him on a ketogenic diet. Then we added exogenous ketones to the ketogenic diet. Then we added the hyperbaric oxygen chamber to it. Dr. Angela Poff was one of the physicians who helped do that. As Abigail said, I am one of the nutrition specialists for Pruvit. My direct advisor is Dr. Angela Poff. So when I have a question that comes and I don't know it, this is the stuff that she's doing. And that's what I think excites me the most. When you said it's real people, and you talk to Brian Underwood, it's real studies, real people being done. This is work that she did, and I talk to her every day about different ways that ketones can be used. But this is so exciting. When I grew up, I think I knew 3 people that had cancer. Now the stats are 1 in 8 people will have cancer in their life. Male or female, 1 in 8. That's really, really high. 80% of people die of heart disease. We know for a fact that ketones halt inflammation. You saw my mom's feet. We know for a fact that cancer cells cannot survive on ketones. We know for a fact that sugar feeds cancer. So when you look at the whole combination of what happens with cancer, and we have an avenue, dietary and lifestyle, to stop it, it's super exciting. 1 out of every 8. So we could start standing off and counting up the room, and somebody in here is going to get cancer, and a lot of people are going to get cancer. But for me, it's super, super exciting to be a part of a product that actually can change people's lives. Biohack number 7 is we were told in those studies we talked about back in the 7 country studies that cholesterol makes us fat, and cholesterol actually causes heart disease. So we kept lowering the cholesterol level. Some of you guys are young, but I know back in the 80s it used to be your cholesterol's under 295 is okay, then we lowered it down to 275, 225. Now we're like at 180. We want to keep people's cholesterol at 180. Cholesterol breaks it into hormones. Cholesterol makes up 60% of your brain. Your brain's 60% fat. So we lowered the cholesterol numbers. We took people on an anti-fat diet, and now we've gotten sicker. But what's ironic is Time Magazine has now changed their tune. If you look back, one of the early ones, it was frowning with bacon, and now we're actually smiling. So ketones halt inflammation in the cardiovascular support. They actually have a significant improvement with oxygen because they supply more energy for the whole body. So brain, heart, everything, and your body can improve that. And we know that ketones significantly impact triglycerides, which are one of the things that get sticky and causes heart disease. Most exciting study for me here, and again, this was done back in 2010 and 2008. So if you put a person on a low-fat diet, so it's a standard American diet, this is our blood vessel wall cell. This is our blood vessel wall collapsing. So when we talk about atherosclerosis or plaquing, these are big plaques and big yucky stuff in there, closing off the blood vessel wall. So normally your heart vessel should be like this and blood goes through it if you're sleeping or exercising. That looks really bad. We took it off tape. Okay, I'm going to go back to my pointer. Okay, now you're our vote embarrassed. Okay, Mediterranean diet, and this is 2-year follow-up study. Mediterranean diet is one of those lower carb diet, higher fat diet, but still having a significant amount of carbs, but not having the dirty carbs or having more olive oil and things. You're still going to see a little bit of plaquing on their follow-up. But on the ketogenic diet, 2-year baseline follow-up, so 2 years of being on that, we see almost a perfect blood vessel wall volume. We thought that cholesterol was giving us heart disease. Well, if that's true, then this is a high-fat diet, that doesn't make any sense, right? So data shows us that on the standard American diet, which is low-fat, high-carb, we're getting all this, and we see that by 80% of people die of heart disease. Hack number 9, which is my last hack, is that ketones are anti-aging. And we know in American society, everybody wants to be anti-aging. We're having lots of plastic surgeries, we're going on retreats and meditation, all these fancy resorts, where if we could stay at home and not spend money on plastic surgery and doing things to our body that God didn't intend, that if we go, especially men, on a 24-hour fast, we actually increase our human growth hormone, 2,000%. So you hear a lot of the forethinkers of ketogenic diet and ketones saying, hey, I'm going to go on a fast for 2 or 3 days. Ketones are their main source of energy, so they're still operating, they're still working, they're still drinking water, but their human growth hormone increases and feels so great. Peter Duffy, and I can post this, he just talked about a bike ride he did. He ate his last meal at 4 p.m., and then he did a 15-mile bike ride. His next meal was at 8 o'clock the next day. He felt great, he had dinner with friends, no crash, no up and down yo-yo, no recovery time at all, and he's probably 50-some years old. So there's a lot of researchers out there doing it. For women, not as lucky, but on a 24-hour fast, our human growth hormone increases 13%, which is significant when we talk about anti-aging, especially for the brain. This was taken in my office today, someone who's been on Keto OS, low-carb, high-fat diet, so not a strict ketogenic diet. You can see, I thought the tapes that was done today. She is 5'5", she is 48 years old, 48 and a half actually. Her metabolic age is 33. So anti-aging. I've had her do some fasting, I had her cut out the carbohydrates. She's a marathon runner, she does a lot of working out. She's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army at the age of 48, but her metabolic age is 33. That's what everybody wants, isn't it? So today we're here to tell you, let food be thy medicine, and what we have here is food, palm kernel oil, coconut oil. beta-hydroxybutyrate, and this is the pyramid that we should be living. Sorry. We should be having our coffee in the morning with coconut oil and butter and cream, lots of nuts and seeds, and then our carbohydrates come from our green vegetables, which give us our minerals and give us our vitamins. So the question is, do you want to live on a diet which is low carb, high fat, which is socially acceptable because everybody wants you to eat and drink with them when they go out, glucose, or do you want to thrive on ketones? Do you want to be someone, and this is really what Prove It's about, to help lead the community on the path towards better health, to help change what's happening to the next generation, to help spread the gap between obesity and the gap between childhood obesity? Well, for me, it's an absolute yes, and that's why I'm here today. I just want to help people find the truth about what can improve and bring up their optimal health. Biohacking is not letting those markers come about. So a high sugar diet, we know those things are going to happen. We switch our fuel source to fat, great things can happen. Beta-hydroxybutyrate, that's what we're talking about in this little packet. When you read it, beta-hydroxybutyrate, we talked about the 3 macros: carbohydrates, fats, amino acids. So carbohydrates from glucose have to go through all this and we get energy. Fatty acids have to break down into this citric acid cycle and give us energy. Amino acids have to do this. So if I were to drink coconut oil or nuts or seeds, my body would still have to do all of this in order to get energy. When I drink beta-hydroxybutyrate, this is a molecule, beta-hydroxybutyrate, I drink it, 5 minutes as soon as it goes through my stomach, it goes into my bloodstream, and boom, energy, increased oxygen, energy, energy, energy. That's why you feel so good. If your stomach gas is off, your body composition's off, you don't have to wait for even the most organic almonds to be broken down and do this whole thing. I'm still promoting a low carb, high fat diet, but why people have this huge surge of energy, or like you experience in the gym feeling so much better, because right here is where it happens. That's it. So I should have just showed this slide first and we could have been done. So I'm here today, very, very proud to be the Ask a Specialist. What the ingredients are: medium chain triglyceride acids from coconut and palm kernel oil. That's a spark that ignites the fire. That's where we get the energy. Beta-hydroxybutyrate, byproduct of fat metabolism, the most energy providing one that we have. We have a little bit of stevia because honestly, if you were to taste beta-hydroxybutyrate, it tastes like tar. So the chemistry has been phenomenal getting it mixed up to taste. Malic acid, which is not from corn, ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, which helps in that citric acid cycle. So if we go back here, we're going to see that there's vitamin C. I won't take you through that. Sorry, a lot of vitamin C. And then the option for caffeine. Caffeine actually has some great properties. It helps with athletic performance. It can help with triglycerides. But if someone has a cardiovascular issue, maybe they're on a heart medication or blood pressure medication, children, pregnant, then I would say just don't use the caffeine. But it's that simple. You drink it, and then you have the energy that you need right here. And it's a sustained energy. So once you drink it, you'll get those from 2 to 4 hours. Your hunger will go down, your brain will light up, you'll sleep better and feel better. So I am really, really proud to be a part of a company that can do and give us technology. So again, if you have questions, let me know. If Abigail or Katie want to say something. But thank you guys for coming back, and thank you for being here. I wanted to do a more of a Reader's Digest version of the history and just let you know that it's no different than any other supplement, except for it's the first ever ketone. Nobody else has done this. We've tried to do it in other countries. We've been yelling to our military, but they've never had one that's consumer that we can share with the public. So thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me your evening. I know time is precious, but please share information about fats with friends or anybody else you know. Yes?
I have a question. On the bike ride one, that hack number 5, like the efficient ride or whatever, I'm just curious how that works. I didn't really quite grasp it.
Okay, so when we're doing research, we have a control group, correct?
Yeah.
So I can send you, leave me your email, just send me an email and I'll give you the whole article, because I'm all about data and I can tell you where it came from. So hypothesis was being tested in the experiment would not, it actually didn't come out to what they thought it would be. So this guy was in mild ketosis. He was not on a standard diet, but he was already on a ketogenic diet. So many endurance runners are in a ketogenic diet all the time. Like my neighbor who's in National Ranked Ironman, he's always in ketosis. He's just a lean machine. So bike rider number 1 in the blue was on a mild ketogenic diet. And we saw his VO2 max, which is our oxygen use, right? It was going up and up and up and down and controlled. Where this person had a huge serving of beta-hydroxybutyrate. So they're in a higher state of ketosis or had more ketones usable for fuel. Their body used less. So a lower VO2 max than control group is what you want. Because if you use so much oxygen and energy, you're tired at the end. You don't want that. You want to have a lower VO2 max so you have more endurance. When you have endurance and you lose less VO2 max, you have much, much better recovery. So whether it's someone who's coming off of a surgical rotation like in hospital, or someone who's a marathon runner, an Olympic athlete, or someone who's just a regular Joe trying to exercise, if you can push yourself a little bit further and you can use your body more efficiently, that's what everybody wants. I hear all the time people don't work out because they're afraid they're going to be tired. I mean, what kind of excuse is that? But I can email you this article, or any of these I have, because as Abigail knows, I don't open my mouth unless I have the data behind it. So I'm super happy to share that with you or pass that around so you have that.
How did the end result, time, if the objective was time, or was it?
It was, so
Or
it's
was it oxygen use, or how did that?
so think of two hamsters in a wheel, and then this was a person on a bicycle, and this one was a mild ketosis.
Yeah.
And this one had more was given like a big shot of ketones an hour before. They went the same speed, but this one was way more efficient. Does that make sense? That's what the mask is about. So VO2 max, and we're doing a lot of this with Prove It down in Tampa, at the University of South Tampa, Florida, on sports performance. So that can make the difference between someone winning gold and losing, or the difference between someone recovering and not recovering and get another day workout. But I'll give you the whole article. It's about 6 pages. But
Like energy output and efficiency.
yeah, that's VO2 max. I tried to.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a question. So this the whole point of this is to get you more energy and whatnot. So I'm kind of curious, what if someone's prescribed Adderall? Could this almost take over that?
Okay, I love that question, and I'm sorry I just missed that one. Babies are born in ketosis. Our brains are 80% fat. So fat or ketones is what our body's been doing since it came out of the womb. It's what it knows. So ketones are safe for everybody. This is already in digestible form. So as it goes into the bloodstream, if you don't need it, you just excrete it out. So you can use it with any prescription medication. My only fear with athletes, if you're using creatine or you're using some other type of fen-phen or something else that's a diuretic or something else that just helps speed your metabolism up, then I would say just make sure you stay hydrated and use a lot of minerals with it. But it's safe with any medication. I got an email yesterday from Dr. Ryan Lowry that there's only one condition which I had never even heard of in my 20 years of practicing, so I don't even tell you what it was. It's a glutathione deficiency that they can't use Keto OS. And the only allergy, so it's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, shellfish-free, nut-free, soy-free, has a little bit of dairy in this one, the one that Abigail shared before, which is a chocolate swirl, which will be the international, doesn't have any dairy in it. So this does have 1.54 grams of dairy, just used to hold the MCT to the salts. It's just used to plate it or spray it on or whatever, but it's just used to help hold together. So it's all natural, and that's why they chose cow's milk.
And Brittany Carrier's husband came off of his Adderall medication. We've heard it over and over.
Yeah.
That was kind of my
And we're
question,
not
yeah.
making medical claims
Right.
tonight. We actually had a psychologist here last week, Dr. Teresa Connington. I shouldn't say her name, but she got up here and spoke. But she's a very well-known psychologist or physician on here. But what happens is when you give the brain, again, it's 60% fat. You're probably not eating a diet that's 60% fat. So say maybe your brain's deficient in that, then you've got to do more fats. This is the easiest way. If I were to try to get this much beta-hydroxybutyrate broken down, I'd probably have to eat like half a jar. Don't quote me on it, I haven't measured it out. But a half a jar on those big Costco things of coconut oil, which would be like 1,200 calories. And then my gut would be totally upset because my liver and gallbladder, and someone could have to break all that down. I can drink this and put it in. It's the same thing as vitamin C. If you want to get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, you can take a tablet or take an emergency, or you like 8 or 12 oranges. Well, that's a lot of sugar. Your body's got to break it down, and everything freaks out. I would say like your pancreas and stuff when you're doing that much. So I use vitamin C because it's a very easy example. Everyone takes a lot of people take vitamin C. People take vitamin D. People take B vitamins because our diets are deficient in them. So it's simply just the next best nutrient. That's what our bodies needed because our brain is the most important organ that we have. If our brain's not functioning, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have ADHD, Alzheimer's, dementia, brain fog at the minimal. I can't, every patient that comes to my office for 20 years, they're tired or they have fatigue and they can't remember where they parked the car or, that kind of stuff. Their grocery list, it's very obvious what happens. Yeah.
So, and I was visiting with Abigail about this yesterday. My husband did the low carb diet, the Mediterranean diet,
Yeah.
and then I made him go to a cardiologist. He has really bad family history, and so then the cardiologist said, no, you have to do low fat. And he said, there's not a diet out there that supports the low carb, because Dr. Atkins died of heart disease.
Okay,
and,
I'll address
yeah.
that. So
And
Dr.
so now I have him yo-yoing. I haven't even said anything to him yet. 'Cause I'm like, I don't know how to
If you go to my Ask Dr. Heather blog, my Amazon store, I have all my favorite people there, like all my favorite authors. I have Jimmy Moore's Keto Clarity, Cholesterol Clarity, which would be important for him. I have Jason Fung's Obesity Code or Break the Obesity Code. These are people who are promoting a low-carb, high-fat diet. Dr. Westman from Duke University, cardiologist, wrote the book with Jimmy Moore called Cholesterol Clarity and Keto Clarity. So I have a bunch of the big books out there that people are writing, Eat Fat for Health. So AskDrHeather.net, and I simply put in my Amazon store because people can find the books there. It's the same thing with coconut flour and stuff. Did that answer your question? So you don't want to do low carb, low fat. You don't want to do high carb, high fat because that makes you fat. You don't want to do high protein because protein ultimately breaks down into stored glucose. It breaks down through gluconeogenesis. So high protein is what Dr. Atkins did, but his proteins weren't very clean. Right? Like I'm talking plant fats is a ketogenic diet with a little bit of heavy dairy or whipping cream, but
vegetables don't really have carbohydrates.
well, they do. They have fiber and carbohydrates. They do.
Like just a small, like
Even
how many
lettuce.
carbohydrates do you recommend?
Well, we're on a ketogenic diet, which is nothing to do
Right,
with
yeah,
what Pruvit
just-
recommends, but a ketogenic diet is really 30 calories or 30 grams, sorry. But low carb, high fat is really 40 grams of carbohydrates or less. So even a paleo diet is not a low carb, high fat. But Dr. Atkins had a high protein, not a high fat diet. He had high protein, moderate fat, low carbs, and he did a lot of great things for our society to get us breaking that path. But he just didn't have enough information, so he did a lot of high like fatty meats and sausages and salami.
Yeah, so just to
and American
clarify, the
cheeses
fats,
are terrible.
Yeah, your fats are healthier fats. You're not talking
Absolutely,
about
plant fats. I'm not talking about eating like bacon because bacon's a condiment. It's not a food group. Everybody got that right? Bacon's not a food group. Well, I just said somebody's like, I've been doing high fat and I'm like having like 3 pounds of bacon every day. I'm like, have avocados and nuts and seeds. And for me to keep calories down, in order like a fat coffee can be 400 calories sometime. Where Abigail's going to tell you about the keto cream, which I do a half, and it's 80 calories. I have people gaining weight on this because they're doing way too much fat or eating the whole entire thing of nuts. But nuts and seeds, olives, avocados, those are all healthy fats. And really from salmon and tuna, those type of things, healthy fats. And dark meat, I know you look like you're a little bit over 29. So we were rinsing meat and draining it with paper towels in the 80s, right? We were rinsing all the fat off it. Eat the white chicken breast, don't eat the dark meat. Well, now we know the dark meat actually has better amino acids and stuff in it. So we were wrong. For a lot of decades, we were wrong. I want Abigail actually to share with everybody, because I know we started late, but a couple things that are super exciting to me, because I do have people do the fat coffee, the butter coffee, the bulletproof coffee, whatever you want to call it, and I look at their MyFitnessPal, and they're 450 to 600 calories because you're doing 2 things of MCT and 2 things of coconut oil and 2 things of butter, and they're just like, you had all your calories in one day.
Are you leaving because you think I'm about to shake it up and explode it again?
It's going to be coffee this time.
I was just going to pretend it. So it's really simple. Just let you know we got cans and we got packets. And we got charged and non-charged. All you do is take 1 scoop, pour in a LaCroix. Because I take 2 scoops a day, I'm always changing up the flavor. And so I also will do, you want to do lots of fluid with it. And so sometimes I'll do 1 can of my LaCroix flavor, and then I'll fill the rest up with Perrier. I like the zippiness with it, kind of cuts the sweet down. In the morning, I like to do something like lemon and a little lemon juice with a scoop. But this is our other product that we have out, and it kind of just, everything we do is going to be in this kind of high-fat, low-carb paradigm. We're getting ready to go on a huge kick on marketing with Gut Health Biome, our new 3.0 version, which I brought in and gave a couple of you guys a sip of. It's chocolate vanilla swirl. That's going to have like probiotics, and we've taken an optimized version, like we said, the non-dairy. We're going to talk about more gut health coming up, because that's the key to unlocking a lot of diseases, inflammation, a lot of problems develop in the gut. And so, but what we have too is a keto cream. And I'm just going to tell you what my typical day is, because everybody always wants to know, well, how do you work the system? Everybody's different. It's really simple. The answer is take it when you need it. Take it when you need the energy. Okay, but here's how I do it, because this is how it works for me. I come from a world where I used to eat 6 meals a day. I was a figure competitor. I would eat every 2.5 hours. If I didn't, I got hangry because I was functioning off of glucose. And so you go energy crash, energy crash, energy crash, right? So now I'm in a high-fat, low-carb paradigm, and now I go like this all day. And everybody who knows me knows I'm not like, okay, my nickname used to be Moody Abby. Really did. But I was a little bit hypoglycemic. I would have blood sugar crashes all throughout the day. And once I had that, I'd get very irritable. Okay, so this is really, I wrote today on the Prove It website. If you go on Facebook,
I was trying
you
to put
can,
Facebook up so people can
yeah, you go on Facebook.
Like
it said name 2 things that Keto OS has done for you. One is it's helped stabilize my moods. I'm like this more so, and everybody around me has noticed it. And the second one is it allows my metabolism not to downregulate in the absence of meals. And that is so huge for me because I came from a world where I would say, developed a disorder and got really enslaved to food. All I thought about all day was my meals, my meal prep, my body, my workouts. Because I competed, I just developed the disorder, I would call it, of always this, always me, always food, always macros. My 80% of my mind was just obsessive on food, calories in, calories out. So what this paradigm has done for me is, fats offer greater satiety and they offer a longer burning energy. And so now I'm able to, I get up in the morning, I put this fats, 15 grams of just instant fats, and it comes through medium chain triglyceride fats and coconut oil fats. It's powderized. It also has a type of cinnamon in it that helps regulate insulin levels. Has stevia, it's powderized, it mixes up really well in your coffee. And so that offers a huge satiety while getting my metabolism started and regulating my insulin levels, okay? I used to wake up and I'd eat oatmeal first thing in the morning, or I'd eat fruit, or lots of people will have smoothies, okay? Cortisol levels are already up in the morning, and then you have this insulin spike, and it's kind of a perfect storm and situation, especially for women, for cortisol fat stress, that stress around our waist. And so my body has really kind of almost had a recomposition since using fats. But I used to always struggle a lot with gut bloating, packing around this area. It's just released since I've switched to exogenous ketones and this lifestyle. But I start getting hungry around 10:30, and that's when I take my serving. I'll do a little bit of lemon juice, some lemon LaCroix, some Perrier. I'll fill it all the way up, 1 scoop of the Keto OS. And I do the non-caffeine in the morning because I've just been sipping on the coffee with the keto cream. And then I have a 3-year-old. This job keeps me very busy and just going, and it's exciting, but I'm like this all the time, like on calls, on the computer, on with people, planning events, doing things. I love it, but this enables me now to not cook 3 meals in the morning before 12 o'clock, which is what I used to do and how I used to live. I mean, so I wasn't getting anything done, and I was taking more care of me than I probably was a lot of other things I should have been. So, and then about 12 o'clock, I have a higher fat, medium protein type meal. And then I do some more work. And then I have a scoop of the caffeine 30 minutes before I train. I have another snack that's a little bit high fat, medium protein. I go into my workout. Once I start working out, I start flooding my body with intermittent carbs. It's a cyclical high dextrin type of carb. I use something called True Nutrition. It's intrusion. It's like 30 grams of really fast absorbing carbs. And that's what I do while I'm weightlifting. I only weightlift now for about 45 minutes. I literally 2 days a week will do 6 minutes of 15-second intervals. And that's it on the cardio. 1 day a week, I'll do about 20 to 30 minutes of something like walking. If I feel stressed, I'll do the elliptical, but it's not ever for fat loss anymore. It's just for like mental sanity. And then when I'm done, I'll have a protein shake with like a banana in it. So I'll use quick carbs when I'm done. And if I really tore it up that day, like if I really like did good leg workout, or your back, there's a lot of bigger muscles in your back, then I'll do what's called backloading, where I'll have meat, some rice, or